beautiful spring sunny day, and I have been looking forward to tackling some more solar projects. I want to actually share with you a little bit about the solar panel mount that we did, and I've got to adjust the panels today. It's mid-April, and we're working on moving toward the summer solstice where the sun is much higher in the sky. And so our panels right now are adjusted for winter where the sun is much lower in the sky. So we've got to get those panels adjusted today. And we also want to take a look at our batteries. We've been having a kind of a weird issue that I identified a couple nights ago. So we're going to investigate that and see if we can figure out what's going on. We're only getting about 19 amps of current coming through the batteries. And I know that during the summer we're going to get a little better current overall because of the sun's angle, but this should probably be closer to, I don't know, 24 amps, 25 amps, something like that. We'll adjust the panels in a little bit and see what this does. So when we came out to kind of just inspect the batteries for water, it turned out that this battery and this battery back here both were extremely low. So low that we put a half a gallon of water in these batteries together. So we went ahead and added water to both of these batteries, and within a few minutes the voltage on the charger had just gone up and it had jumped into absorb, and then it went ahead and went into float. Now I thought, well, that's kind of weird. I don't think that, you know, just adding water to the battery should make the voltage skyrocket. Just trying to use some kind of common sense there. So I went ahead and left the charger on it in float for quite a while just to try to get those voltages to equalize. But I think the harsh reality is that these two batteries are still pulling down the voltage on the rest of the bank. So if I were going to do this in the most controlled fashion possible, I would disconnect all the batteries, I would disconnect all the load, disconnect all the solar, and let these batteries sit for a while. But I'm just going to try to get a rough idea about the voltage of these two batteries. So this one is showing 7 volts, and the one in the back is showing 5.5. That's a pretty wide gap. And the one here is 6.2, 6.3, 6.23. So far, everything has pretty much been consistent with what I experienced during the winter, and that is these 6 batteries over here, they're in okay condition, and these two continue to just be boogers. Finally, we're just going to accept defeat and probably remove these 2 batteries from our bank so that they'll stop drawing down the rest of these batteries. One of the hardest things about this entire project has been the fact that you don't get to sit and obsess over one thing. I know a lot of folks who watch our videos, everybody kind of has their expertise. You find people who are amazing at running equipment, or they're fantastic carpenters, or they're amazing plumbers, or maybe their forte is low voltage electrical, and everybody has their thing, right? But with this journey, you have to be good enough at just about everything, which is really a struggle. It seems like we're always trying to do new projects. We have to be able to, you know, dig a cistern bed and use a laser level to try to get that all sighted in at the right grade. We have to know how to pick plumbing parts, and it's difficult. If we had one specialty and that's all we did all day long, I'm sure we could probably obsess over any one particular thing. But we don't do one project long enough. Seems like we kind of research and get to know enough to complete a project, and then we're on to the next project, and rarely do projects overlap. I'm going to be working on adjusting our solar panels. Let me back up here a little bit and see if I can show you. It's not treacherous up here or anything. So you can kind of see that these panels are at a pretty steep angle, and for summer we actually want to tilt them up because the sun, actually right now the sun is about right there. And you can see the angle that it's striking the panels isn't really perpendicular. We'd rather have those panels tilted back so they're getting full sun exposure. We built this panel holder out of just reclaimed stuff we had laying around. Just a bunch of really odd lumber. And it worked good. So I went ahead and modified or upgraded all the hardware to bolts. We get some extreme winds around here, And I wasn't sure, as you can tell by this pile of rocks, whether or not this set of panels would turn into a sail. Oh, that was a bug. Would turn into a sail and end up coasting off the mountain. That would be a very bad day for solar. So, bolted everything nice and strong, and I went ahead and invested in stainless steel hardware. I feel like something that's exposed to the elements like this, it costs you a little bit of extra money, but when it's out here full elements, it's gonna end up getting a lot of corrosion. So why not invest in good hardware? We put the array, which is actually all bolted together as one unit, on hinges. And it hinges here, and it's nice and balanced. We adjusted the array so that basically there's not a lot of weight either way. And everything is fairly centered. And out here on the arms, these arms we built so they could be adjustable. So this is currently our winter adjustment, which is the steepest angle. And what we need to do is actually move this arm down here and rotate the panels back. It looks like I never drilled the hole, or holes, I guess, for the summer adjustment. While we're going to get the drill so we can finish moving those solar panels, I'll share with you a couple more of my takeaways from this winter's solar project. Just little things. One, keep the tops of the batteries and the terminals clean, and dry. I found out that when you have dust that accumulates on the battery and you also have moisture, it actually will create a surface voltage and you're losing some of the juice that's in the battery. Just huge but tiny. Keep the connections tight. You know, use quality hardware for one. And then also make sure that everything is snug. That one little mistake probably cost me a week of chasing rabbit trails. To get the optimum amount of solar gain out of your panels, obviously you need to adjust them, and the easiest way obviously is mechanically. So this chart is really helpful because it gives you approximate dates and angles for a twice a year adjustment and then 4 times a year. And so we're doing the twice a year thing, and they recommend adjusting them to the summer angle on March 30th. Well, we're a little past that, so we're a little behind. So this chart here shows 45 degrees. We're actually at about 46 degrees northern latitude. So we need to be probably in the 21.5 or so angle, 21.5 degrees of angle there for summer. So that's what we're going to do. If you adjust it 4 times a year, they give you different dates and different angles to aim for. You can of course find that information with a quick Google search. The best thing to do would be design your rack so that you basically have 2 holes, winter and summer. And hopefully now we'll actually have a summer hole so we don't have to think about it. You just go out and adjust the panel. Bugaboo, what are you doing? Did you just wake up? Huh? Were you sleeping in your cabana? Bugaboo has a cabana. It's secret. He doesn't want anybody to know about it. He likes to hide up there. He thinks nobody knows. He thinks no one knows about his cabana. Aww. He's pretty happy. He's happy it's spring. He doesn't have to be locked into the cabin anymore.
It's a nocturnal son of a gun now.
Yep, and his cat hole's open so he's free to go.
Yep.
Watch out, world.
This cat can go anywhere in the world and he chooses to stay here.
Yeah, he's a free being.
It's not like we keep feeding him or anything.
Although every time we see a raptor, we always go, watch out, Bugaboo, watch out! This new solar oven that we got the other day kind of establishes this principle. I don't think, and it's really hard to see. So this little red dot, this is actually a sun target dial thing. And it's designed to help you make sure that this array here is aimed correctly at the sun. And so when that red dot right there is right in the middle of that bullseye, that means you've got the most optimum sun angle on this thing. Of course, it can be adjusted, which you need to do throughout the day, by either adjusting the angle in the morning or in the afternoon. So right about there. And then of course it needs to be turned to follow the sun across the sky. And let's see, according to this, I think you can see that, this is sitting on a 3, a little above 3, which means I think this is around 250 degrees inside. It's pretty hot. Ooh yeah, that's hot. This is beautiful red current kefir, am I right?
Yes.
There's a black currant.
Black
You made it? Oh,
black currant
it's a little confusing because it's red.
Right?
So it's black currant, but it's red.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. But it is cold, and it's refreshing. Thank you for the beverage. It looks very refreshing at the moment. Another takeaway from my solar project this winter: the importance of the temperature sensor, which they include with the inverter. The inverter charger, let me be more specific. That temperature sensor tells the charger how to adjust the algorithm for charging. And of course, we were dealing with extremely cold temperatures, and so that charger was running as though, I think the temperature was like 59 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, when in fact it was 12 degrees below zero. So we were getting an inadequate charge. Duh, like simple little thing. And so if you get a temperature probe with your charger or your inverter charger, use it. Wow, that's yummy. So I'm hoping you guys can see that. If you didn't know this, built into an iPhone and iPad in your Compass app is this level. It takes a moment to kind of figure out how to use it, but it's super handy for just quick measurements. So according to our chart, we needed 58.6 degrees for winter, and we need about 21.5 for summer. So it looks like we're at about 26 degrees, and that's actually the reciprocal angle of the panels. So they're actually probably closer to, what, 53 degrees? 63 degrees. 63. So they're actually a little steeper than they need to be. But again, we're having to interpolate that information. So we need to bring these panels up to, let's see, around 60, let's see, 21 degrees would be, what, 69 degrees. Oh, see, now it switched. So I don't know what, so we like to bring the panels up to about right there. All right, so I don't really have a genius plan for how to go about doing this. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and release these arms. I'm gonna release the one on the other side, then this one, and then we'll tilt the panels until we get them at the right angle, and then I'll make a mark on each of the leg and the array, and then we'll go ahead and drill a hole and put our bolt in. And then, I don't know, maybe we'll take a tape measure and we'll measure that hole so that we can get a duplicate, like a matching hole on the other side. Just want to give you a really quick idea about the before and after angles that we're talking about here. So let's kind of look at where we were before, which would put us about right there. So that's saying that's 21 degrees there, which seems ridiculously steep. It makes sense because if you think about where the sun is right there. And so now the panels are really getting hit with direct sunlight, right? And especially in the mornings when the sun comes up, it's coming up pretty high in the sky already. And in the winter, quite the opposite. You're almost looking right into the sun that way. And I got my trusty carpenter pencil. I just used our new timber framing chisels to sharpen this. It's kind of a fun project. I'll link to the timber framing chisel video over here. And just out of curiosity, let's see how we did here. 19 degrees. I think we're off by about a degree, maybe 1.5 degrees. I guess if I had my dream, I'd find a way to make this a more adjustable mount, but it'll work for today. So I had to run back in and grab a tape measure, and I thought I'd just glance to see if the angle change made any immediate difference. And it looks like we're sitting at about 18.3. The sun just went behind a cloud. It's not a very big one, but it's enough to kind of filter the sun's energy. So hopefully here in a few minutes, once we get this done, we'll have an idea if it made a big difference right now on the amount of energy that we're getting out of the sun. So that went pretty good. I actually took the time, once I kind of measured everything and tried to adjust, I realized that, you know, that 2 degrees that I was off on this side made a huge difference. So I went ahead and corrected this side. The panels have a lot less flex in the array. So I guess 2 degrees does make a lot of difference. The sun is no longer behind a cloud, and we actually are dropping down just a hair with that angle change on the panels. We're holding 18.5, 18.6, 18.7. Another takeaway from this winter's debacle with the batteries was the importance of keeping batteries in a temperature controlled environment. We built this timber frame battery box. If you haven't seen those videos, we'll link to them. I think it's over here. We'll link to those playlists. It was a really fun project, and we're really happy we did it. We don't have a lot of room in our cabin for everything. We already struggle with having room, and these batteries definitely take up a considerable amount of space. So this winter turned out to be a humdinger. We were setting record low temperatures. So I guess if there's a takeaway there, it's that outdoor batteries aren't the end of the world. We're in a pretty harsh northern climate, and these batteries survived, especially the ones that were in good condition. Another really great suggestion that actually came out of that video series was to keep a set of wrenches in your battery box. That way, if you need them, you don't have to go looking all the time. One seemingly popular concern was the use of metal wrenches around your battery box. I just want to kind of share that's kind of a paradox that I have one group of subscribers and viewers yelling at me to use tools with synthetic handles. That way, if you touch a terminal, there's no chance of it shorting out the battery. And the other group is shouting at me to get wrenches that actually fit the nut instead of using a crescent wrench or a universal wrench. So I just have to kind of chuckle at all that. I totally understand the seriousness of it. And I would recommend that anybody dealing with batteries with this kind of capacity take them very seriously, because they're very powerful, especially when they're shorted out. Let's go ahead and put a couple of tools in here. I keep knocking everything down. It's because I'm not very mobile. And what I'm going to keep in here is one metal wrench, because I don't have any other alternatives at the moment, but this fits all of my stuff perfectly. So we'll leave that on there. And then I have this adjustable wrench, because not every nut in here is actually 9/16. I've got a couple of nuts down here on our switch, and so I want to make sure that I've got an adjustable wrench in here. It doesn't quite fit the screw though, so I'm actually going to do kind of an age-old trick here and put a couple of zip ties. All right, so that's a really helpful tip. I do thank those people who recommended it. It's been on my to-do list for a long time, and now I feel all better. This is the battery sensor that I was mentioning earlier that was so crucial to getting proper charging. It's a very simple thing. It attaches to the charger via like a phone cable, and you simply attach it to a negative terminal. Another takeaway from our winter solar fun was you need to have room around your solar panels if you're in a snowy climate. Well, I guess in any climate. As you noticed earlier, trying to adjust the panels, there's nowhere to walk. We originally leveled this off to put rain barrels here to use for gardening. And we thought, oh, we'll be genius to keep the solar panels out of the shadow from the cabin. We moved them up here on the side of the hill, and it's worked perfectly, except for there's no room to walk. So clearing snow from the panels, and as you just saw, even trying to get around them to adjust, very, very difficult. Well, we have a lot left to learn about solar, that's for sure. If you'd like to learn more about our journey so far, we've got a playlist up here where we've kind of been putting all of our solar videos, so give those a look if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next video. I almost forgot to share one last takeaway from solar this winter, and that is, if you put solar stuff on the internet, be ready for the wrath of the internet.